would love that. But how would that sit after you've basically said, hey, Iggy cannot play. Don't worry, guys. He's not going to play for months on end. But when he comes back, he's jumping all of you in the rotation.
Well, that's a problem.
Hey, Klay doesn't need to work out at all summer. But when he comes back, we're just going to push him into the front of the lineup, and we're just going to live and die with him, working himself into shape at the beginning of the year. So they're going to have to philosophically have a come to Jesus as an organization if they're going to do that.
But you know what, though? Don't you understand why Klay didn't work out?
It's not about understanding.
No, but don't you understand it, though? Because a lot of people are holding on to that. Don't you understand why he didn't work out?
Sucked.
The results sucked. And then what happened in January?
No, I know, but
what happened in February? What happened in March?
But Bonte,
what happened in late December?
The residue from the results at the beginning absolutely affected the whole season.
That wasn't the only thing.
No,
that wasn't the only
it's
thing.
never one thing.
That wasn't the only thing. But don't you understand? From the human, we're talking about human element, and we're talking about John Morant this morning, and we're talking about Melo, we're talking about Psyche, we're talking about radio and being depressed and all that stuff. Don't you understand why a guy like Klay Thompson, who didn't play a full season after tearing his ACL, he was playing at the top of his game, he's out there cooking dudes in pickup, cooking. And the Warriors had the number 2 pick, and he's like, I'm back, baby. I'm back after a 15-win season. I'm back. And your Achilles goes. That fear, that dark room that we talk about, being depressed, all the rehab days he had to go through, what was it, 951 days? And you're like, you know what? We just won a championship. I don't want to go play pickup and risk getting hurt again on some fluke stuff. I'm going to do individual drills.
But what about self-awareness?
He did. It's not like he didn't work out. He did individual drills.
So
he didn't want to scrimmage.
I don't want to compare myself to Klay Thompson because what he's come back from is unbelievable. He's a professional athlete, and he's better at what he did than I'll be at anything I do. Like, on one team with a bunch of old guys, I can play middle infield. But when I'm playing with all the young guys, I get moved over to first base. You know why? Because I'm not as young as those guys, and I want to win. And I know the best version of me for my team is me going over to play first base. It's like a joke that we say in softball. My dad played shortstop, then he moved to second base, then he moved to first base, and then he moved to pitcher. And part of that is him accepting that role and the self-awareness to realize, yeah, you're closer to 70. And you're not going to be able to bend down and play shortstop as well. For example, Alex Rodriguez, understanding when he went to the Yankees, hey, they have Derek Jeter there, and it's going to upset the apple cart. I need to have the self-awareness to embrace and accept the role to play third base. I believe A-Rod was the better defensive shortstop. He was coming off of multiple Gold Gloves, right? But he had the self-awareness to read the room and go, man, it's best for everyone if I take a different role, even if I think in my heart of hearts I'm better than him at that spot.
Okay, but again, what I'm talking about is, and that's fine. That's moving forward, and Steve Kerr's going to have that conversation if it comes to it. We're also talking about a guy in the league where three-point shots has never been more important. If you don't have three-point shooters, you're not winning a lot of basketball games, right? You need shooting. In a league that prioritizes shooting now, this guy just led the league at threes. Less than a year, or maybe, I guess a little over a year after coming back from 2 devastating injuries. But what I'm asking is, don't you just understand that? So we talk about Ja, we talk about everything else.
Yeah.
I don't want to scrimmage because I just tore my Achilles and I cost my team another season, and now I'm getting labeled a bust for this contract. I don't want to scrimmage.
Yeah, but Bonte, we can accept that
for that first summer.
No, but what I'm saying is you can accept those things, but they have results and consequences. There's a cause and effect. And part of that cause and effect is you get the early season production that you got or lack thereof.
You get some struggles. But that's not the only way. That's not the only reason why. And it just feels like we're pinpointing some of the guys. I think Klay was one of the better stories this year for the Golden. Out of all the stories, for the Golden State Warriors,
the way it ended sucked.
Yeah, the way it ended just sucked.
I actually think there's a Jimmy G conversation in here, in that there's comparisons to where Jimmy G's body of work in 2019 was awesome. And yet,
don't compare Jimmy. No, I hear what you say about Jimmy.
I'm just saying Klay's that we focus on the shortcomings in the playoffs.
Clay's body of work is so much. Come on,
you're missing the point. I'm saying 2019, he had a great year, but yet me and maybe a lot of other fans considered everything moot from the regular season because he fell short in these 3 spots. And I do think that, fair or not, we over-dramatize the end of the year, the part that people think matters the most, like all of the journey leading up to that is null and void, when it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no doubt. But Klay, okay, he struggled in these playoffs. I get it. What happened a season ago? What's happened 3 other times? Like, I don't subscribe to that, man. I don't. So we look at Klay Thompson. I look at Steph Curry. He struggled from 3. Jordan Poole struggled. It wasn't just Klay. It's weird to me where you look at the conversations about Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt, right? How much leeway they get amongst the fan base. Brandon Belt, polarizing figure, right? Brandon Belt, lifelong giant, blah, 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 blah. Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, all these guys. But yet on this basketball team, there does seem to be, with the fan base, a fixation with not only the youngsters, but like, you know what? Out of the core guys, it's Klay's fault. Like Klay, out of all the core guys, gets the most heat on this basketball team so far this offseason. Not even close. Not even close.
I think Draymond gets a lot of heat, too.
But a lot of people are saying keep Draymond. The reason why Draymond gets heat...
I hear both.
The reason, to me, why Draymond gets heat is because that incident set off a string of bad vibes.
Yeah, but I also think that Draymond's poor... I will agree with you there. Here, Draymond's poor performances are overlooked way more than Klay's poor performances. You know why? Because when Draymond performs poorly, either he's in ridiculous foul trouble or he literally doesn't shoot. And so we don't glom on to, the misses. Whereas Klay Thompson, when he's performing poorly, there's a defensive aspect, but the missed shots are things that people can visualize. Whereas Draymond simply not shooting, I think it takes a little more sophistication to understand. Like, they're literally not guarding him. He needs to square up and shoot.
So Klay decides not to scrimmage in the summer, coming off a playoff run where he played the most minutes for the Golden State Warriors in a championship run. And Rick Celebrini and any trainers probably told him to scale back or whatnot from not scrimmaging. And I don't have a problem with that. Now, they had the team meeting early in the season say, hey, Klay, you got to be better. Because he was forcing it. He was trying way too hard to get it all back. And have what Klay was doing early on was trying to have a 37-point quarter. Every quarter. It's like, no, you got to scale back. And once he did, he found a great role. He found a great rhythm. He played well. And in the last 13 games, I get it. But he wasn't the only one who didn't play well against the LA Lakers. He wasn't the only one who didn't shoot well against the LA Lakers. I just think out of all the guys who looked, hey, let's move this guy, shooting has never been valued more.
Yeah.
And the threat of Klay Thompson is still petrifying a lot of basketball teams.
The difference right now, you're saying the shooting's never been valued more. Agreed. Yet the Miami Heat shot the worst, and we're bottom 4 in all of the shooting categories during the regular season and have flipped the script in the playoffs and shot unbelievably well. Reversely, the Warriors, Klay Thompson hits a ton of threes during the regular season. Come playoff time, when people say it matters more, he didn't perform. And that's why the Heat are still playing.
Well, he did perform, but a lot of guys didn't perform.
No, and Steph didn't shoot well.
A lot of guys
Jordan
didn't perform.
Poole played horrible. And that's where, you're saying that.
They're also not, and this is where I want to give other teams respect. Sacramento had a hell of a game plan. Think about what they did for most of that series until Game 7. They pressured Steph Curry up the court, and the Warriors were not getting into their offense until there was 14 seconds left on the shot clock. And what do they love to do, right? The split action with Draymond Green and Steph or Looney or Wiggins or Klay Thompson. They're not getting into their offense, so all of a sudden the passing is not there. The passing that Klay and Steph rely on. So give Sacramento credit. They slowed the Warriors down, and yet we forget the hellacious shots Klay made in Game 2. We forget the hellacious shots he made in Game 4, the game he had in Game 4. We forget about Game number 5 when Klay Thompson hitting some big shots. Okay, Game 7, he struggled. I get it, but he hit some big shots in the third quarter. I just think it's a little unfair to be coming down Klay's road the way we have as a fan base this offseason. I think it's a little unfair when you think about what the player, I think we forget what the player's gone through. He's admitted mentally, I was into some dark places, man. I didn't think I was playing again. The fact that he's playing again and we're expecting him to be the Klay Thompson, maybe not of 2019, but we're expecting him to play close to an all-star level. Maybe we need to look ourselves in the mirror.
No. Let's be
honest.
He's the one who said, "I want to make another All-Star game," and which, of course, what else should he be trying to strive for? There's no doubt about that. But in terms of who's getting critiqued, when you lose, everyone's going to get critiqued. Jordan Poole's gotten crushed. Draymond's gotten crushed. Klay's gotten crushed. I think Steph's kind of been taken off the hook to a degree. I don't think Steph was great. I don't think Steph was his normal greatness.
Here's the one thing that bothers me about Klay. I'm here to listen. If you want to put him off the bench, I don't really care. I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as he gets 26 and 30 minutes, who cares? If he doesn't play back-to-backs, okay, I get it. I get why he wouldn't play back-to-backs. But the one thing that bothers me is the assumption that he won't evolve. He didn't have to this year.
Well, we just haven't seen it.
Well, he didn't have to. Why would he do it this year when Wiggins was out for the last 25 games, not to mention the 15 he missed for the right adductor strain and a groin injury? Let's not mention Stephen Curry missing all those games for the Golden State Warriors this season. Let's not mention Draymond Green missing some action. Let's not mention the DNPs that the youngsters who were supposed to play and help relieve some of the stress of the veterans picking up all the DNPs with Kuminga and Moody, and of course you had the Wiseman stuff. You think about all the moving parts around Klay, the different. How many starting lineup combinations? I think they had 25 different combinations this year when it came to starting lineups, the most they've had in franchise history. And yet we're still counting on this guy to play every single game. Every single game. So I think it's a little unfair. That's what bothers me, to say that we're going to assume that he's not going to accept the role when he didn't. This year he had to play the way he played because everybody was out around him. Or everybody was inconsistent around him.
There's like I don't know. I think that there's a thing in people's minds that until you see it, it's like with Trey Lance. Like, people are going to doubt until they see it. You have to see things. And so why are people assuming that Klay can't evolve? Because they haven't seen it. And then once they see it, maybe they'll come around. Like, that's where it is. Like, why did people assume that Steph Curry wasn't clutch? Well, they've never seen him win a Finals MVP, and all of a sudden that was
stupid,
absurd,
though, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like saying that Klay Thompson can't evolve is stupid. Let's see it. I want to see it. I'm open-minded and optimistic to seeing it. But until we actually see the baby, we could talk about the labor pains till we're blue in the face.
So listen, 925 Comcast Business Text Line. David Lee went to the bench because he was hurt. Draymond Green got off to a great start, and Kerr stuck with it because he said Draymond Green fits my system better. New coach, new personnel, new offense. It made sense. It made sense. You want Klay Thompson to evolve this past season and sacrifice what? All I'm asking is, what did you want him to really sacrifice this season? Again.
Well, I think they wanted more splash bro than pick and roll bro. And that's a function of what the other team is doing to him. That's a function of the other players that are on the court. Like, some of those things are out of his control.
And it's a function of your own players missing time.
For sure.
Steph Curry missed 26 regular season games. Andrew Wiggins missed how many? 40 plus? 45 games. So what role was he going to evolve to this year? This year was a mess in terms of rotations, in terms of continuity, in terms of cohesion.
I think this year it was, we're going to do what we've always done, and then that, for the first time ever, didn't work. You know what I mean? And so now you got to go back to the drawing board, just as an organization, but also individually, you got to go back to the drawing board. Right. So you're going to have to see, how you evolve moving forward.
And I'm saying I don't think it's right to assume that he won't. I think, again, coming from his background, coming from his family, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving Klay Thompson the benefit of the doubt, saying, hey, I will scale back my game because maybe I'm not the same player that I was. But, man, we don't talk about playoff basketball without Klay Thompson. We don't talk about playoff basketball without Jonathan Kuminga.
In your mind, what would you envision Klay Thompson looking like next year for this team in the half court?
Well, I mean, it's the same spot-up shooter. Guy who could hit the knock down a three, 1-2 dribble pull up. I want him to embrace the mid-range game.
Yeah, that I agree with.
I don't want him getting caught up in dribbling, and that's what happened in the playoffs. More so than anything, forget the shots, because some of the shots were terrible, but we've seen Klay make those shots. It's the extra ball handling, the extra dribbling. He dribbled way too much in the playoffs. You need another playmaker to help him alleviate some of that ball handling.
That I agree with.
So that's where I'm at. And Klay could still get you 18 a game and shoot. I mean, again, the guy, and it may be up and down because of some of the big nights, but 41% is 41% from three, man.
No, I know, but I think when we're talking about evolution, part of the evolution is not just catching and hoisting from 45 feet away at the beginning of a shot clock. Like, those are the kind of little things. And we could talk about percentages and things like that, but I think more it's the timing, it's the spots on the floor of where you're shooting it, and it's how you're getting your shots. Are they rhythmic? Are they within the flow of the offense?
But honestly, who else wanted to shoot the ball Who else was capable of? David Tidjo was shooting in the 20s in the playoffs.
No, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back and adjudicate what we saw. I'm talking about what we want to see moving forward.
And I think we will see that. I think it's fair. I'm open-minded. I think he can evolve. I think he understands that. I think he'll watch a lot of film. I think there will be some evolution. I don't like the assumption from a lot of people saying, oh, he's not going to accept no role. He's not going to do this. No, he hasn't, which is part of the problem. I have.
I know Klay has. Klay. I know Steph has, and that's what makes him so unique. Very few players, evolve gracefully over time and become better versions or whatever. Like Jason Terry is someone that sticks in my mind, who was one kind of player when he first came into the league, and then by the end of his run was a very, very valuable piece that completely evolved his style of playing his game. Ray Allen, max player who evolved gracefully as his career continued to go on. You referenced Rudy Gay, different player, not as good as Ray Allen.
But think about those guys. Those guys were high flyers, athletic.
Yes.
Specimen. Ray Allen would duck on your head early in his career. Klay Thompson's never been that guy.
No.
So the evolution for him looks a little different because he is a catch and shoot. You know what I'm saying? Coming off of multiple
But
screens,
I think the benefit that all of those guys had is that the rosters around them also evolved, which was able to bring out the best versions of themselves.
Well, does that too big lineup help Klay Thompson?
See, I don't think it does.
It kills the spacing,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think it does.
So there you go.